Well, we got here is the base for the kitchen countertop and sinks and stoves, everything that fits into it. And storage bins across the front, all different sizes according to the stuff that goes up above them. There's blocks on the floor down here that have got regular concrete nails into the 4mm holes drilled in the concrete. There's 3 of those. There's another one, one down the end by Boyette. And we got Benji tying wires, Boyette tying wires. We have a lot of pipes and a casing here to drill a well, and rebars that goes in the middle of the walls, basically for the sides of the cabinets and that hold up the countertop. There's just so much stuff in the way. We just abandoned the notch boards on this. It may be the only time we've not used them in the entire project. But we're just trying to have no space bigger than 9 inches by 9 inches. And there's more rebar to go. There's got to be some over top of this curved edge here, which will be something somebody could stand on if they wanted to. It'd be like stairs in front of a building that you see a piece of rebar and all the concrete's gone. So we're going to put the rebar in the right place on this and get good cover on it and everything. At the top, we got little blocks all along here, screwed down, and a board nailed to them, the facing. That sets the height of the concrete. And once we get this base slab in here, unscrewing these blocks, we'll let that piece of phenolic board, it's 3.5 inches high. That's the thickness of the bottoms of the base cabinets. But that'll come out, and we'll replace that with a piece 24 inches high, same shape. And it will come up to the top form up here. That'll make just the curve below the cabinet and the curve above the cabinet, and then the little vertical piece of the partitions. So there's a whole lot of phenolic board that doesn't have much concrete touch it. But that'll set the height of a level surface that gets the rebar exactly the same as what's in the floor, except there won't be pipes in the way, so we might use the notch boards up there again. Yeah, I just had my finger across it probably the whole time. Anyway, this next layer just sets the a level base, and we have to have recesses in it for 3, 5, 8 burners for the stove, and there'd be 3 stainless sinks that'll fit into these cabinets here. In other words, the bottom of the sink will be hanging through into these cabinets, but the counter's so deep you'd have to be on your hands and knees to know what was there, other than the plumbing. And the rest of it over there there's a taller cabinet on the end down here, and that'll be for dishwasher. This is the in-house kitchen, the one nobody ever uses. It has all the fancy appliances and refrigerators and stuff like that. I don't know if you can see it outside, is the real kitchen. We poured that slab last week in the dark. It looks pretty flat, and it is pretty flat. Level with fishing lines, but it was done in the dark with no lights. Close up, it still looks good. So, and we didn't douse the edges as much as we could have. What looks like imperfections on those edges, really the crappy things we use for forms. They've been used quite a few times, and then they've been left out in the weather for months and months because we didn't know what we were going to do again, and the house is full of stuff anyway. So they left a surface on there from whatever was on them. They put that thing together and the rebar and the plastic down, and the plumbing, and got the dirt leveled forms. These pieces that go up that anchor into the wall. 3 days flat, 2 guys. If we built the house at that rate, we've been done a year ago. And we've got another door delivered down here. It looks like it's all sharks of one kind or another. I think the one they took across the street was just now. I didn't film it. It's 2 tropical fish. This is Tute. He's our chauffeur. Every day. Well, 6 days a week. He was suggested by the first year chauffeur who had a heart attack. And he's not able to work. Maybe, I don't know if he'll ever be back, but we've had him a couple years. He's worked really well. Easy to get along with. Somehow I managed to get where I want to go, but we haven't got a word in common in language. We have names we call things, like the place we get most of our bolts is called Screw Mart. So you don't tell them you want to go to Tanza or Tahara or something, you say Screw Mart. And if you want to go to Wilcon, you say Cowwheat. And everybody knows where we are and where we're going. We're wrapping the first of several bars here for about an inch to an inch and a quarter cover. And then there'll be another one between that and the one you see beside it there now. There'll be 2.5 inches on center. Oh, we tried to bend this stuff around here on the cheap. I bought HardyFlex. I bought HardyFlex in 2014 and put it in the soffits of the house we stay in. And it was almost impossible to get it flat. It was just miserable stuff to work with. And then 2 years later, we changed it out for more HardyFlex. But this is the new HardyFlex that we got. And it's fiber reinforced cement, no facings. It will not bend. We tried to bend. You see how gradual that curve is? We were trying to just set it in there to get something to anchor it with. We snapped it in two on a curve with a radius like that. So if you're looking for a really flat, straight ceiling, I think I would recommend this stuff. It seems to be totally waterproof. You can't wet it and bend it either. It's rated exterior for houses, and I believe it would be good for that. But it was not good for bending these strips to form this concrete. We broke the crap out of it. So I begged them to carry it home so we wouldn't have to fall over it. If I hadn't broke one of them, I probably would have. No, I don't ever take anything back. It'd been here forever. Okay, we're gonna stop this video, and Boy and Benji are gonna finish rebars, and I guess after Merienda we're gonna probably bag up rocks and sand. The cement is in here, though we mixed it outside, so we won't carry that out until we actually go to use it. This is a 10-bag pour, thereabouts. And the next one up for the cabinets is 8 bags. This is more because it's got around where that well casing is, there's a hole 18 inches square and 2.5 feet deep. That's what we brought our plumbing up with, is those poured in place concrete boxes. They have cement floors in them, and through the side of them is a piece of pipe bigger than whatever pipe you're going to run, next size bigger. And they just duck underneath of the tie beam, which is underneath of that wall. It's like a footer for the wall. And it also ties all these columns together. There's a corner of a column, and on the other side of this wall, there's another corner of that column. And this is the front face of the column. I keep saying this is 35 inches. I'm not going to go back and change it if it's not. Well, I've put it in 10 videos that it's 35. It's 33 even. And I know the other dimension is shorter, so the 28 is probably right. Yeah. And the wall, we have this visible separation here between the rendering, the solid concrete wall, and then another one on the other side by the other rendering. And you don't see that on the houses because what you see is out here, like this. That's just the render going up against a column. But you actually have this. And them little tiny ants, the no-see-em ants, they live in those. They love it in there. So what we did is we put 2x2 wire mesh screen anchored to the concrete with 2-inch, with a little bigger than the number 4 millimeter drill bit, because we drilled a 4 millimeter bit and beat those nails in about 1 inch. No, more than that, because we only leave about 7/16 sticking up. So they're 1.5 inches into the wall. And then there's a 7/16 ordinary nut, which is about a little less than 3/8 of an inch. A fender washer, the mesh, another fender washer, and then the head of the nail. And those are 18 inches on center of the whole damn house, inside and out. But that's to make sure that the render is attached to the building. Because when it dries, it shrinks. All concrete shrinks when it dries. But I knew that at the house that we stay at, we had those ants, and I finally figured out where they live. It's in this space here. Now we're going to come back and Boyle will saw this off about 1.5 inches back, and then we'll put the concrete nails about 4 inches apart and tie wire from one nail to the next, maybe 2 or 3 layers of tie wire, and the nails will be staggered. They won't be straight in a line. And that'll be anchoring this little piece of corner here. See, when you put the render on, we really don't try to do the finish on the render and make that perfect square corner and everything that you need while we're trying to make a wall flat and it's setting up while you're working. So we come back and we do that later. If I didn't have the separation crack here, I could skim coat that. But I want the amount that the concrete will shrink 1.5 inches from the crack out to that corner place. It won't separate. It'll stay right there. So we're going to seal it off with a corner bead of concrete. The windows had to have the same treatment. This shape is cast in with the form. The form we made up, well, my wife made up on bandsaw. There's like 60 pieces in one of them. 7 layers of dimensional lumber. Anyway, it makes that shape. And it made it clear out to where the render goes on. But we fixed that corner. And we're letting this, it'll be changing shape for around 28 days. This has been up here 50 days. So we could skim coat this anytime we felt like it. We'll probably take the diamond wheel and run around this edge right here and blend it a little bit. We don't have to because we can put a 5/32 of an inch, like 3 millimeters of skim coat in a coat. And the first coat would be a leveling coat. You can tell our walls, if you look down the walls, they just disappear all at once. The walls are flat. The beam's up. You can see the beam up there. Above it, it's straight. Everything is flat once you put the skim coat. I was trying to give this guy a break was doing these overhead ceilings, because that's a lot of work with skim coat. So I told him to do the ceiling and the beam beside it while I was there. You know, we should take him 1.5 days to do this 25 feet here. And that's the first coat of skim coat. If he sands that and puts another one, it'd really be pretty. But I don't need that. I really don't. But the idea was he would do a segment of top and then do around the window and the wall down here. You know, it's ready for skim coat. Because it's been, like I say, 50, 60 days now. Some of them 45 days, some of them 60 days. This is about 50. So he'll skim coat that. We want to do all the outside skim coat before rainy season. Right now he's doing this equivalent thing on the second level, which is really not a floor. It's a fan housing. The shape of that that next section is what cools the house. Oh, errors! Everybody likes to see where I screw up. This gutter was poured flush with the house floor. And somehow it went totally by me to put some dowels about a foot into the end of the one I'm pouring, and then I'd bend them around and pour the next section over top of the dowels. So a 2 foot long piece of rebar, like number 12s, should have been 10 of them across there. We put 0. We put none in the edges of the floor. So the reason it goes up, and the reason I'm not too concerned about using plate compactors on the floors here, is the ground in dry season is bone dry. It's got cracks in it 1 inch wide. I parked a motorcycle on the edge of one of them cracks. I didn't see it. And when I went to get off, this kickstand went down in the hole, and I couldn't back away from it quick enough, so the thing landed on top of me. Of course, they run off the roof and picked it off of me before I really got my breath back. But it was a 5 or 6 weeks recovery time. I rode the thing every day, but it was not a pleasant thing. But that was from a crack in the ground. And what happens when you pour concrete, the moisture that's in the ground doesn't evaporate off the surface, so it continues to come up, trying to equalize the moisture through all the dirt down to wherever far it goes. So it swells up that land that you poured the concrete on. And the floors in the house were poured on as much as 8 inches of fill dirt that had been rained on during rainy season. And then we added 1 inch here, 1.5 inches there, just in spots to get it really level with a transit. And stomped on that just with flip-flops, walked around on it. So it wasn't complete compacted. But when that concrete got poured, you wouldn't believe how hard those floors sound. I mean, it's likely it probably is trying to pick the house up, because that whole floor is underneath the walls. This apron right here is the floor, because it was done before the walls. So the walls are built on top of it with stobs up, like over there on that dirty kitchen floor. They're 12 inches on center under these walls, and the bottom of the rebar sets are tied to all those, like 2 sets of ties. And then the top ones ran right up through to the next slab on the second level. And the stirrups and long pieces, long bars for the beam, the whole beam was picked up over that and lowered down on it. And that was about 24 inches above where the slab would be up there. And of course, the slab wasn't there, so they had to go up that 8 inches also. 6 inches, 6.5 here. 8 in the center, 6.5 on the outside. There's a slope like a sewage drain on these floors. Not this one, this is flat. But this one and the roof cap up there both have 1 1/48 slope. You can feel it when you walk on it. It's not, it's enough you can tell. Anyway, this floor slab being continuous, and it's on top of the 24 wide, 18 inch deep tie beams. So the whole thing is pretty solid on the ground. But see, this building had rose up with the dirt swelling up, but that's what 1.5 years ago. So this land out here was dry because it was out in dry season, and then when it got damp, it did that 3 days after we poured it. And some of them didn't do it at all. The next one is pretty near flush, but this one here and that one. And you can see down there at the next joint, that one is, maybe you can't see it. That one's almost flush down there too, the next one. Anyway, screw up. I'm gonna put spray foam down in the crack, and then skim coat. And this is gonna be a step in it. I mean, some of your errors you can't get away from. You have to live with them. This This what looks like is a crack down here, or line. That's the string that it was done with. And was one over there, and that one too. That was another string. So you can see the string was pulled dead tight, and it's the same depth on the concrete. So you really don't need power screeds and stuff here. The people know how to use a piece of fishing line. And this is our famous ladder. Climb it at your own peril. It replaced Shaky. Shaky was a wood ladder, and you get up about 3 steps and try to reach off to the side to run a screw into something. And you reach over the screw gun, and Shaky would lean the other way. You lean to the right, Shaky goes to the left. However far you were from that screw when you started climbing the ladder, that's as close as you got. The more you leaned, the more it leaned. We put wire X braces on it. We put screws in from the outside into the ends of the treads. 2-3 days later, Shaky got his namesake back. He'd just be leaning this way and that. It never collapsed under anybody. Never hurt anybody. But it was definitely a piece of crap. This one here is a category 2. It's really thin. That's why there's all kinds of metal bolted to it, riveted to it. Treads fall out, you put bolts in, you know. And we're like the 9th station of the cross this week. I thought they was a-coming. We haven't got a decent place to put it, so she set up her station on top of the rock, or on top of the gravel pile. I don't know. I guess it's all right. Well, let's end this video if I can get this thing shut off.